morning, everybody. My name is Liz Helton, and I am here for this month's installment of Just Ask Julia, where we share tips, tricks, and insights to help you progress through your job search with strategy and clarity. This month, we are talking about a topic that has been coming up more and more as we find a denser job market is how to have an effective and a strategic job search process, something that can help you maintain momentum, structure, and control in a job market that is increasingly longer to hire and denser with candidates. So let's dig into it. My goal for today is to really be talking about the things that we can control. There are so many things within a job search that you can't control. You can't control when you're going to be offered an interview, when you're going to get that job offer. You can't control what questions are going to be asked in an interview or how often those jobs are going to pop up that are just absolutely perfect. But we're going to be talking about today the things that are absolutely within your control and why job searches kind of feel harder than they should. So for starters, you feel like you're putting in so much effort. You're sending out those applications. I hear all the time from people, I sent out 50 applications last week and heard nothing. Right. And like, oh gosh, okay, the whole week is starting over and I'm back to square one. Here we go. Um, or I sent out 50 applications last week and now I have no energy to do anything. I went super, super hard and now I'm just burnt out. Right. And then, of course, that feeling that I hear all too often from job seekers of I'm shouting into a void, and it's just exhausting. Nobody wants to be in a vacuum, right? Most job searches don't fail from a lack of effort. It's about a lack of a system. Now, there are so many parts of all of this that like I said, you can't control, but the system and the process is absolutely the thing that you can control. When you're employed, maintaining a system is easy. You've got a task list of things that other people are holding you accountable to. When you're in school, there's a syllabus with things that are going to move you through a semester. When you're in the midst of a job search, you're the only one that's truly holding you accountable to maintaining a deadline that is more or less ambiguous. Unless a job description says applications due by X date, you've just got to like pray and hope that you get it in before they decide that they're going to close off applications. There's no deadline with networking. You have to be motivated and and disciplined enough to reach out to those contacts, right? Nobody is going to say, hey, this is when you have to do this by, right? Or to do it for you, right? These are all things that have to be really self-motivated. And it can be really hard to just do that in an ether without putting a process in place, right? It is truly about the system, right? It's not something that you can just power through. The sporadic effort and will always produce sporadic results. I had a professor in college who would say at the end of every class before a test, he would always say this: proper planning prevents poor performance, and it sticks, right? And it's the truest of cliches, right? That if you are planning and structuring, you're going to be able to maintain your momentum, right? And so what we're going to focus on today is not how you can be doing more, but how you can be building towards something that you can sustain through everything from your having a clear target and knowing what you're applying to, your consistency, and then moving through the right channels. Right. And when you stop treating your job search like a scramble and start treating it like a system, that's when everything is going to see a shift. So, what are the things that we need to be focusing on? There are 4 key areas that we really need to be focusing on. First and foremost, you have to have a clear target. And that doesn't mean to say you can only go after one type of job. It's that you need to know what are your lanes and what are you moving toward. The clearer you can be in what you're searching for, the better the process is going to go. Better than, throwing spaghetti against the wall and seeing if it'll stick, right? We are here to really make sure that we have a positioning statement, and that's going to build the confidence in you as well of how you talk about yourself, how you position your messaging, right? Now we look at 5 different channels that can help you maintain a consistent job search process, and we'll get into those in a minute. And every week building something into your week that revolves around these 5 channels. Obviously, your momentum, being able to really keep a sustainable rhythm. It is not a sprint. This is absolutely a marathon. You have to be able to kind of pick up and keep going, even when you hit that 9th mile where it just feels like it's never ending, and you don't know when you're going to be able to keep moving or how to keep moving. You have to be able to maintain that momentum, and that is always done through your pipeline of how you track, follow up, and keep opportunities moving. So we're going to walk through each of these areas and kind of talk through some different tools and templates. I'm even going to point to some things in our own community that you can take a look at, and we're going to dig into each of these pieces a little bit more to give you some tools and guides and systems to be able to build a job search that can sustain. So first and foremost, a clear target. No one is looking out for your priorities, right? So much of the job search process is, how are you right for the role, right? When you're building out a resume, it's how are you aligning yourself with that job? When you're in an interview, it feels like it's about you. They're asking you a bunch of questions about yourself, but in reality, that conversation is all about the position. And so your job before anything else gets going is to be the guardian of your own priorities, right? Is to be really holding yourself accountable to what you need, everything from your short-term needs to your long-term vision. One of the best tools that we have in our arsenal is what we call the scorecard and opportunity tracker. And it is a way for you to define your priorities, short-term, long-term, everything from a base salary to leadership style to the industries you want to work in. I think we even have parking listed as one of the topics in there. We cover off on everything that you are looking for that can be a priority and a need. We are not here to judge what your priorities are, but it is important that you define them and know where you're going, right? Because it is really easy when you're scrolling through a job description and job description after job description, your eyes start to glaze over and you start to say, yeah, I think I could do that. That sounds great. But when you really start to break it down using what we use, the system we use is a color coding exercise that breaks it down by your level of expertise in any given area of a job description. But when you take the time to define your priorities and to break down a job description, that is going to make sure that you are staying on track with those clear targets that you're moving toward. Now, when you're searching, I want you to really be focused in not just title, because like I say here, a VP at one company is a director at another. Responsibilities really matter. And I want you to really focus on scope, ownership, environment, and when you're searching, to not just be searching by title, but to be searching by skill set and responsibilities. And the more job searches, the more applications you look at, the patterns you're going to start to see in the language that's used in the type of role that you're pursuing. So really be thinking about, what type of things you want to go after. So for example, maybe you're going after a job in public relations, right? And maybe you really want there to be in a role where you are really focused on executive positioning versus something that is very media relations focused, right? You might have PR director as a title for both of those types of jobs, right? But it's really going to be about adding in those other terms that is going to help you get some clarity around that type of role that you're targeting. So I mentioned 5 different channels that we were going to dig into. As you are digging into your job search and your job search process, and you have that clarity for the type of role you're talking about. We want to get into the things that are going to help you stay on track in your process. First is, as we've just talked about, your job postings and your research, the opportunities and your ability to understand the market. So maybe these are formal applications. They might also be, researching the different, as I said, the different types of the breakdown of different roles, right? So really understanding that market, right? Your network is absolutely the keys to the kingdom right now. 80% of jobs are currently being filled through networking, right? That's a huge number. Click and submit does not work by and large. We see it. It can, but it is a volume-based approach. But 80% of jobs are filled with but for candidates, especially once you get into middle management and above, are filled by candidates who have some connection to the organization, whether that is a direct one-on-one tie-in, an internal hire, or a loose connection of somebody vouching for you. Hey, a second degree connection or a loose connection, as we would call them on LinkedIn, that can make an introduction for you, right? So maintaining those networking relationships is absolutely critical. Recruiters, because recruiters absolutely, as soon as that applicant tracking system, the robot that reads your resume is done with it, recruiters are that next step, right? And recruiters are not just reading it once you've applied, recruiters are reaching out, right? Recruiters they are that hidden pipeline for applications, but also unlisted opportunities, right? Recruiters are the area where you are going to be finding a wealth of opportunities. So fostering relationships, tying back into that network and building a relationship with recruiters into your network is really important. A target company list, right? So knowing the companies that are out there that are doing the things that you want to be part of, right? That is going to help you research better, tie back into those job postings, right? But being able to keep and monitor a list of companies that you want to be getting introductions to, knowing what they have going on, companies that are kind of paving the way in the industry that you're in, that you can be really looking to and saying, not just what are they doing and how can I get in there, but what are they doing and what do I need to know about, and maintaining an awareness for what's going on in your space. And then, of course, LinkedIn, which I'm the first person to tell you that LinkedIn is not a job search platform. A lot of people look at it as a job search platform. I can't tell you the number of times that Julia and I will hear people come to us and say, I haven't looked at my LinkedIn since 2019, but now I'm job searching and I need to log into it. LinkedIn is truly a networking platform, and your algorithm on LinkedIn has changed its algorithm drastically in the last year, and they now are really focused on the quality of your engagement. The content of your profile is still incredibly important, but your algorithm is really being influenced right now by how you are engaging on the platform. It is no longer enough to have the right headline, although that is important because that is heavily weighted in the content of your profile or about section or your professional experience, but you have to be in there and showing up. Now, you do not need to become a LinkedIn influencer. There are a lot of ways to be really great at LinkedIn, everything from liking, commenting, or posting on the news on other people's feeds, right? And sharing your insight and contributing to conversations that others have started, to messaging, following your target companies, really pursue, just being in the platform and doing your research in there is all going to show that you are active and engaged in LinkedIn. It's an entire presentation all on its own. So I want to talk about what kind of how all of these 5 different things can look over the course of the week. Having a schedule is absolutely critical in a job search. Creating a system for yourself is absolutely, without a doubt, the most important thing that you can do. Because if you jump into your week and just say, well, I'm going to job search this week, you are going to have probably a pretty productive day on Monday if it's a good week, but you might crash and burn throughout the rest of the week. And so what I want you to do is I really want you to look at, now I've got 2 different schedules that I'm going to show you. This is for a full-time job seeker, is how to create a schedule that is going to really maximize your ability. I am here to tell you though, first and foremost, full-time job seeker is a terrible title for this slide because the adage of, well, you don't have a job, so finding a job is your full-time job. If you there's no like you don't need to fill 8 hours in your day of just job searching. You have a life too. You have to maintain your peace in this, but you do need to have a specific outline and a specific plan, right? And just as you do, where it is true, is it's okay to take weekends off. It's okay to close down and have personal time in the evenings. Okay. But what I want you to consider is how can you be habit stacking? Where are the things that you are already doing, even though your current schedule is pretty flexible? What are the things that are already going well for you? Well, in this hypothetical scenario, maybe this individual has a really excellent gym routine 3 times a week and also blocks out some time for errands, lunch appointments. What we want to do is we want to habit stack, right? So we want to take that thing that we already know that we're doing, that we're going to be building energy around, and we want to be building around that, right? And so where that is going to come in handy are things like, well, the tasks that you absolutely don't want to do. If you notice throughout the week here, right after that, gym, recruit, all the errands, all of that are things that might seem a little bit scary, right? Is the LinkedIn engagement or the outreach and the follow-ups and the tasks that just need to like get done, right? You're going to also be scheduling in things like your coffee chats, your outreach toward who you're talking to. Really scheduling, your week so that, Monday you are launching some things. And then by Friday, as you can see over here at the end of the week, it's really prepping for the next week, right? You really want to have kind of for each of your schedule, each of your days to really build out time so that you are touching on a little bit of everything. So as you can see in here, we're not just focusing on LinkedIn on one day, right? We're not just focusing on recruiter outreach on one day. It's scattered, it's kind of built in throughout the week so that you don't go hard on one area and then let it drop off, right? We want to really build it out so that you can kind of keep pace, keep that momentum. Now, some tools that we have in our arsenal that I really recommend using are our task visualization matrix and our how much time do you have? So these two tools are really going to help you prioritize. The task visualization matrix is a tool we have that it will tell you is something urgent and time bound. We need to make that a big priority. Is it urgent, but there is no open deadline to it? Okay, that's still important, but maybe further on the matrix. Is it is it is it time bound, but maybe not something that's going to be as important for your immediate job search plan? Okay, and then is it something that is not urgent or not time bound? Well, that is a nice to have situation. We want to move that into the lowest of priorities. So that visualization matrix is a great tool that you can tap into when you're trying to say, okay, what do I need to have be my priority? The how much time do you have is a great visual that will show you, okay, if you have 15 minutes, here's what you can be tapping into, right? If you have 2 hours, here are some things that you can be doing in each of these areas. These are all available, as you see here, at community.careertransformationpartners.com. So we talked about the quote unquote full-time job seeker, meaning those who are currently not employed that are looking for a job, and that is their sole priority at the moment. Secondly, though, we want to talk about, okay, what do you do when you've got a job? What do you do when you are currently employed and you have to carve out that time, right? The hard part of it is that you just are not going to be able to put in as much time into your job search as somebody who is is not employed and is job seeking as their primary focus right now, right? So of course, 8 to 5, we've got to carve out that block right there. But I'm gonna tell you, you're gonna have to find that other window. Now, maybe you're a morning person. I'm a big morning person, and I have no problem getting up a little bit earlier to work through something. Not everybody's like that. My husband would absolutely kill me if I told him to get up an hour earlier. Maybe you have more energy in your evenings. Julia, I know Julia is for sure a night owl where she absolutely will have more energy if she's working through something in the evening hours. So you find your energy and what's going to work best for you, right? So where you like put in those extra hours, that's going to be important to you. But really be thinking through, okay, yes, you do have that full 8 to 5, whatever job. You also have to be able to book in your errands, your family time, your personal time. Personal time is still important. This doesn't have to be the thing that takes over your personal time. What I do want you to really think about is about an hour a day, 2 or 3 sessions during the week. Right. And for the love of all things, don't let it take over your weekends too. When there's something that you need to book in to your weekend, of course, but make it intentional. Right. And as I've said before, we want to make sure really that we are focusing on kind of scattering the different things that you are doing throughout the week and really making sure that you are finding a way to prioritize this a little bit each day. Consistency matters and a little bit each day, but you have to have a schedule for it. Okay. So the hard part of all of this and what we really need to tap into is the emotional side, right? So we talked a little bit about this up front, but that silence after applying. And you're submitting 20 applications and you're hearing absolutely nothing. You're shouting into a void and you start to really think about like what's wrong, right? So when we start to think about this, I want you to think about a couple of things. First and foremost, applications are getting about 200 applicants, per posting. And that you are a needle in the haystack, right? So it is not always a you problem, but there could be a pattern. So if you're hearing continuous silence, it is signaling that maybe there's something that we need to look at in your resume, perchance, right? So start to be thinking about, okay, it's now been 10 applications for roughly the same type of role. So maybe we need to be thinking about what am I saying that needs to be looked at there, right? Like if it's a pattern, then we start to look at what's going on in the resume, right? And really digging back into your color coding exercise, how you are positioning your resume, right? When you're starting to feel that heaviness around maybe rejections around an interview, right? So you made it to the final round. Maybe they chose someone else and it feels deeply personal, right? Like you really like you were a great fit. Like it really, like you guys vibe together. The good news is that of those 200 applicants, you got invited to the dance. Anytime you even get invited to the interview, Julia and I were just talking about this yesterday in one of our group sessions in the community. Anytime you get invited to an interview, they're excited to meet you. That is absolutely progress, right? You've made it to that next chapter. Like it's just now about refining and figuring out how you can be positioning yourself a little bit better, right? In the next role. And at the end of the day, if it is not you that gets that golden ticket job offer, it's not about you. It's about the mysterious other candidates that there were, right? It's usually a gap in fit or timing or whoever the other candidate was, right? And so what you can take away from that is that, okay, this is what you've learned. Always, always, always be taking away what you've learned from it. One tool that we use in our work with job job seekers and interviewees is we have a debrief form for after interviews, and being able to really sit down, and we have a form for this, but you can absolutely do this on your own, is to really sit down and say, okay, here are the questions they asked. Here was what they said about the questions I asked. Here were the responses that I gave, right? So really sit and reflect on your interview so that you can go through one and keep notes for potentially a next interview, but two, to be able to refine and reflect on what was said and to see patterns so you can be kind of prepping for the next round. Um, Look, week 4 of an interview or of a job search feels like manageable, right? But we are seeing job seekers easily, we easily hit 3, 6, 9 months right now. It's very, very common. The average hiring time right now, minimum, is about 13 weeks, which sounds absurd to say, of like, wow, it's going to take them that long to fill this position. But when you really think about how long the process can take for one application, it gets posted, it's up for about a week. Then they have to schedule interviews over the next probably 2 weeks, right? So there's 3 weeks right there. And then how many rounds of interviews go beyond that, right? So even with one application, you've got to maintain some momentum. But that self-doubt, it can feel heavy, and it absolutely gets to feel heavy. It's it feel it, it's so hard to feel like you're waiting in the balance of somebody else to have something that is the biggest thing that is happening for you, right? It is the biggest priority for you. It's the biggest email you're going to send. It's the hardest conversation. It's the most planning you're going to do for any conversation. And on the other side of the table, you've got somebody who's maybe printing out your resume and walking down a hall 2 minutes before your meeting to think about it before going on to the rest of their day and talking about other candidates, right? So as you kind of really like move through this, you have to remember that your confidence is absolutely a resource, right? And building that structure is going to help you maintain that with momentum, right? Your small wins, finding people that can really help remind you of your worth and why you're awesome. So it's one of the big reasons that we love to to prep for interviews, to have other people look over our job applications, is because that gives you community in this, right? To have somebody in there to be like, wait, have you thought about putting this into your resume? This was something we worked on together that was so powerful. When you're prepping for an interview, to have somebody that you can be connecting with and talking to and bouncing ideas off of and giving you feedback versus staring into the mirror and doing it that way, that's going to be confidence depleting. Every time you have an engagement where somebody is going to kind of give you feedback, that's going to be a confidence builder, right? So as you go through this process, the biggest thing I can help you with in terms of maintaining your confidence is to build community in this, is to not be afraid to talk about your job search and to be a bit vulnerable in this process. One, because it can be a form of networking. The more you let people know what you're looking for, where you're at, the more they're going to be able to think of you. But two, it's going to be the thing that will like let them also boost you up, right? If you do this on your own and not talk about it, it can feel real dark and scary real fast. So getting further into momentum without burnout. Burnout can, we look, burnout can look like a lot of things, but the subtlest forms of burnout can really stem from just like starting to avoid things a little bit, right? When you start to feel that loss of confidence, right? When you are really going from like, oh, I can totally do this job, to, yeah, I can apply for this. Like when it just starts, it's natural to start feeling that burnout. All the way down to the worst of it is just feeling absolutely numb and giving up and crashing out, right? So the burnout really can start though if you're is with a lack of that system. Consistency is going to be absolutely critical, but you can't perform consistently at a sprint, right? It's the tortoise and the hare, right? We've got to be a tortoise and consistent and at a pace that you can absolutely maintain, because every time you crash out, you have to restart. And restarting is a whole process, right? So if you're able to maintain that system, that is going to be what helps you move forward incrementally, right? These emotional cycles are so normal. Um, the waiting period is the hardest part. I was working with a job seeker who was actually offered, she was offered a position, and she said, I just want to feel excited for this, but I can't even feel excited about this yet. She's like, this is the point where I should be feeling so thrilled. I've been working at this since October, and I'm I'm just so done. And that is so true because the process can take you into the place where it depletes any amount of joy you'll have in a job search. But what we worked through is, okay, look, we are going to we have to, step by step, at one point or the next, you will start to come out of this, right? But even getting out of that burnout, it's a process all on its own. And that's, again, a whole different presentation. But what I can say is that for this individual, what we really worked through is, all right, what are the things that you can still be doing right now while you are working out of your burnout to kind of repair it? And we looked at things like kind of one, like restructuring and rethinking about what does she still have to do in terms of her job search. We're going to get to that in a minute, because just because you've been given a conditional offer doesn't mean you're but feeling of numbness and being able to kind of talk about it. And what I said is, you get to go and celebrate with all the people that have helped you at this point. This is a big moment, conditional or not, like this is a big moment, right? And using those people around you to lift you up, right? And then obviously when you do start to feel that burnout, the biggest thing is seeking that help from professionals. This is a mental health challenge. Burnout is a mental health challenge, and so seeking that help when you can is really important. But the biggest thing is that burnout isn't a failure. It's just means that you've lost a system, right? And so protecting your energy is really important. We actually have a tool in the community about burnout recovery. It's a burnout recovery reflection. It's almost like a journaling exercise that can help you kind of pinpoint where the burnout is coming from and how to kind of work through it. Now, all of this to say, and this all boils down to, how are you maintaining, right? How are you keeping that progress moving? It's all about your pipeline, right? So as I'd said about this previous individual, interviewing feels like progress, right? But it's not an offer, right? So one of the big things I see this in a couple of different ways. I will find job seekers who got an application out the door and they're like, yes, I'm going to wait. I just really want this job. This is the job that I want. 200 applicants. We got to keep the pipeline moving. The second you apply for a job that feels so excited, you got to find another one that maybe doesn't feel as exciting, but it's going to keep the wheels turning, right? The second you start to get an interview, right? This is going to be the job. That feeling of like, there's somebody that is talking to me. Somebody got in my inbox. I am not in a void. That is such a real feeling that can be so uplifting. But the biggest mistake you can make in your job search is not capitalizing on that energy to try and find it again, right? We want to go find that feeling again, right? Let's go find another application to get out, right? Let's go have another networking conversation and to keep that momentum going, right? This idea of it's almost like a false finish line, right? And it's really easy to say, like, I got an interview today. I'm not gonna apply for anything this week. Like, I've got an interview this week. That's my big priority. That puts a lot of pressure on that interview, right? I will say, I mean, give yourself an afternoon. Like you got an interview today. Cool. Like you can reward yourself with a little treat of like, okay, but don't like blow your whole week and bank on this interview. Because I don't want you to fall back to zero with that lost momentum, right? All the way down to conditional job offers. Uh, Same job applicant, same job seeker said to me, I got the job offer. I am going to cancel my other interviews for the week. Like she actually had a job interview for like a part-time thing that at like a grocery store. And she's like, I'm going to blow that off. I don't have to do that. I was like, hold on. False finish line, right? We've got to watch out for those false finish lines. Keep your momentum, keep your pipeline moving until you have cleared all the conditional terms, you have your start date, and you are moving toward like you're hitting in ways how to get back to that parking lot on day one. Like you do not want to stop because conditional job offers are exactly that. They are conditional. And I can't tell you the number of times we have had somebody like completely stop everything, be ready to go for day one, and then not meet those conditions, or they've reneged because they've moved in a different direction. Everything is changing really fast right now. Companies have been, I've seen countless individuals say, well, I had a job offer and then they rescinded it, right? We don't want that to happen, right? So we are just safeguarding and protecting our peace because the universe is a sassy little minx and she likes to play games, and we are just protecting ourselves from that. Mostly though, because opportunity can create anxiety, but the options are leverage, right? We just want that leverage. So what can this look like? A before and after. So this is a hypothetical client, right? But we see this pretty consistently where we've got individuals who are applying 30 times a week, right? That's the before, just like absolutely no clear target. What we want to see is maybe you're only sending 5 to 10 applications a week, but each one is very aligned. You are updating your resume. You're writing very specific cover letters. You're really thinking through exactly like what you need to say for that application. If you're sending 30 a week, you're guaranteed you're not updating your resume or writing specific things or really like thinking about your networking plan for that position. What we want to see is more of a targeted approach, right? When it comes to LinkedIn, maybe this individual, like I said, hasn't touched it since 2019. You're going to be absolutely invisible, but we want to update and optimize the content and have an engagement strategy that's going to work for you to really get recruiters, hiring managers, your network looking at you. Before, maybe the individual just really thought their networking was just asking for jobs. Hey, I'm looking to work at your company. We want a networking plan that is going to be more about building relationships. We have some great resources around different scripts and different scenarios in networking that you can ask for, because networking should not just be trying to talk to somebody and finding jobs that aren't posted. It's about gaining insight, seeing what you can contribute, and not asking, hey, what can you do for me? Individuals that take the scattered approach are going to be burnt out by week 6, right? But this sustainable pace is going to help you through a long, extended job search. Now, results might come after 14, 15 plus whatever interviews, delays, pauses, near misses, but it's the system that's going to keep you running. Remember, we can only control what we can control. We can't control what a company is going to react, how a company is going to react, but we can control the system that we put in place. If you want to talk more about job search process, if you are navigating a job search right now and just need a safe space to be able to connect with others that are going through it, the career transformation community is maybe the place for you. We are all about building processes, systems, strategies that are going to help job seekers land that next role. We have guides, tools, resources, self-led courses, live group coaching multiple times a week. So if you are familiar with our Just Ask Julia format where we have an open Q&A following these presentations, our live sessions during the week are that Q&A. So if you want more than just one time a month with us, the career transformation community is potentially the right place for you. You can hit the QR code or community.careertransformationpartners.com to learn more about it. For those of you watching live, we are going to head into that Q&A portion right now. For everybody else that's watching us on YouTube or wherever you have found this video, you can hit the link in the description to sign up for a future session of Just Ask Julia. I'm Liz Helton with Career Transformation Partners. Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next time.